thread. So we're sort of thinking about task worklets a little bit. So what's the sort of nicer API for workers that could potentially run on the main thread, and we've got a bunch of performance optimizations that we could do there, or run on a background thread if needed. So you can see here that if you've got lots of tasks that explicitly just set timeout 0 or something like that, they're bunched up on the main thread, potentially blocking a whole bunch of user input. Here we could potentially time share between a background thread if we need to, or actually perform them on the main thread when we've got time. You can sort of think of this as like workers plus request idle frame. But there's a bunch of things in this sort of area that we're thinking of as sort of, async append, task worklets, resize observer, so actually delivering resizer changes when you actually need them on the main thread, batching DOM read writing, things like giving your hooks to know when a script is compiled correctly. It's really about time slicing a lot more of the APIs on the main thread and just treating it with a little bit more respect API-wise. So with that, we hope that you're excited about these APIs as we are. If you are, Elliot's excited. If you want to get involved, talk to us in person, reach out on the GitHub issue, file feature requests if you want them. With that, are there any questions? Yes. Oh, Mike. Do we have a mic? Huh? I can repeat the question. Sure, go for it.
So is there any hope of implementing the whole SVG spec in terms of Houdini?
The question was, is there any hope of implementing the entire SVG specification in terms of Houdini? Yeah, I think so. I can't say for sure. The SVG spec is huge. I've found a couple of things which we already knew we were going to build that will make things, make that task easier, and a couple of things that we didn't yet realize we needed to build that I'm going to start proposing. But yeah, there's a good chance.
Is the entire CSS, I guess, spec exposed by type.om yet?
Not yet. I've done most of the very careful with that. Very simple types, so numbers and lengths and transforms because they make a nice demo. The rest of them are coming. I'm also waiting on some spec stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So
before,
in spec terms,
yes.
We decided to decide on an MVP of types for level 1 rather than try and spec all of CSS. So in level 1 of the spec and in our first release, you won't have access to everything. Those things which we don't have explicit types for, you'll fall back to just a plain star value, which will have the CSS text available. So you can still use the star map for those things, and your code will continue to work as we add more.
Out of curiosity, do you know how Faster is using OEM instead of doing the string concat and the old style CSS?
We haven't done a lot of performance testing on it yet. Our initial things on using transforms is that it's not faster, so I'll need to look into that.
But it definitely, we expect that there should be performance gains there.
I've been focusing on just making the things work for now, so probably I've done something bad, but I will fix that.
Thanks.
We're not slower yet, which is good.
As an example, I think with the anemometer benchmark, there's a few benchmarks there where we are just completely style bound, just because it's setting transform strings, and we have to go and pass the whole string. There's a bunch of work that we can fix in the parser there, but it would be great if we could just skip the parser entirely. So we should see large performance in those types of benchmarks.
Other questions?
Mike. Give Mike a mic.
That never gets old.
No.
Just to follow up on that previous point you made about anemometer and the benchmarks, would that require changing the benchmark to use the CSSOM to get that speed improvement?
Yeah. You have to use the new API to try and test how fast it is.
Yep, and I think that's a totally legit thing to do.
You're just doing it, so I need to run front, back, front, back. Yeah, but only one Michael who is running around.
When can we have it?
Which part?
It's awesome. By
Which
the way,
part would you like?
everything about this is amazing. God, I can't decide. I want it all. When can we have it?
So I guess there's experimentally you can have it now, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is on Chrome Canary just behind a flag for Type2M.
we could definitely consider doing an Origin trial. That'd be really interesting. The other thing is that the four rec track specs that I mentioned up front have now been published as FPWDs. Yay! So yeah, we could start to look at a release schedule, I think.
Yeah. I think it's probably not unreasonable sometime in Q3 to have parts of it.
I mean, that'd be super exciting.
Yeah.
Which year?
Which hammer? Yeah. Elliot. Oh,
Elliot,
behind you.
this
Yep.
question.
Does this work with transitions and animations?
Not yet. If you're talking about Type2M, not yet.
The other thing is with properties and values. Sorry.
Well, I mean, there's no reason why the Type2M won't work
Oh,
with
well-
transitions and animations. The piece that we're waiting on is properties and values. Once we get that working, then yes, this will work. This integrates very, very cleanly with transitions and animations. Once you can say, such and such a custom property has type length, then we know how to animate that. So when you put into your CSS transition that you want to change that, right? So your example of the
Speech bubble.
the speech bubble, you could
The
animate
carrot.
any of those properties smoothly once we have the properties and values API. I think that is basically one of the main reasons for the properties and values API. Yeah.
Cool. Fantastic.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks you very much.
Okay, so we've got a break until 3, and then back here or in any of the unconference rooms if you want to follow one of those.
This through.
It's not.